Let's do this!
Happy time zones, everyone, and welcome to Daily Devotion with Beez. I'm your host, Beez the Chaplain, and I'm pretty sure that there is background music. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it just got, because I play an ongoing mix, like a rotating mix, and there's sometimes lulls that there's nothing, but it's all good. Yeah, I hope everyone's had a great day. Good morning, Warden of the Sand. I think I saw you earlier on God's Reconnect, and I think I'm going to jump on afterwards. I'm at home today because I've got CPE, which is Clinical Pastoral Education. Yeah, so and this is like a full-on. It's like a 2-day course that I do every month to help with my chaplaincy. By the way, sup Benos? Hope you're doing well, man. Good to have you on the Instas. Hope the family's keeping well. Congratulations on the win on the Panthers grand final. I watched that game, man. Whew, it was a rough sight to see. Felt bad for Rick. I went to watch it with Val and a couple of others at Parramatta Stadium, at the Bankwest Stadium, and boy, it was awkward afterwards. Anyway, hope you have a great day. Also, good morning, Dad. Thanks for letting me know that everything's all good. And I'll see when my mum jumps on, because usually, yesterday my mum messaged me and she was like, oh, because I'm not too sure if you'll know, but my mom was big on internet shopping now. She got me, oh yeah, I told you last time, she got me this weighted vest. Sorry, not weighted vest, heated vest, because down here it's quite cold, but I'm wearing my hoodie today, and it's actually quite, it's not as freezing as it was, but my mum bought me like a vest with like heat bars, like an electronic, yeah, it's got a power bank, or a power pack, like a battery pack that heats the jacket, and so that's nice and comfy. And so once she got that one for me, she was like, yeah, what else do you need? And I was like, oh, if my mom's buying me free stuff, I was like, I'm in need of I'm looking for a raincoat, like, you know those proper raincoats, the ones that kids wear and they can jump around, and stuff like that. Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, anyway, there's the raincoats, like, those, I know what you did last summer, trench coats. I want one of them because sometimes the weather's been trash and I still want to take Chunleo out for a, she's just here, and I think if she heard that word, she'd go all crazy. But yeah, my dad sent a message saying, my mum might not be here because she's working. Man, my mum can't enjoy the retired life. She's working, and she's working as I think a supervisor for, she's working for the HSE, she's one of the market supervisor kind of things. All right. Also, a couple good mornings. Fuzzy, sup, man? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great week. Good to hear from you. Hope you have a great one. Also, good morning, Jada. Hope you enjoy your the Bruno Mars concert. I got a couple of friends who are going. Our roommate's going to Bruno. I think she's going. I don't know, but she says she's a big fan. And good morning, Karen, aka Kaz Dog, Karen Wifey. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, 100%. Warden goes, the older generation never stops working. My grandfather retired and went back to work as a volunteer. It's like one of those ones where it just can't stay chilled. Always got to do something to do. Always got to need to do something. Always got to keep busy. Yeah, and I remember when my dad, he retired. Man, it was a struggle for him because he was like, I got nothing to do. But now he keeps himself busy with projects and stuff, the house projects and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna make a start. As promised yesterday. I was really inspired yesterday from the comment that Warden made about, like in the journey that we're going through, that we ultimately in our journey will bring others along, or others can experience, or others might be drawn closer to Jesus Christ, or get a preview potentially their own experience with Jesus Christ through what we do. And it reminded me of a story or a passage in the Bible, which I've got 4 points today that I brought out, and I'm actually going to use the overlays again. So I'm going to start now. The title of today's devotion, the title of today's devotion is David's Mighty Man. And it shows that, and David, King David, back in the day, Old Testament times, it was in total like 37 men, but they say David's 30 mighty men. But there were a number of soldiers, men, council, his posse, his entourage, his group that supported him, provided him, there were warriors with him in battle. And they were his people. It's quite interesting that in Mark chapter 2, when like Jesus and his disciples are going through, are traveling, there's a few Pharisees, Sadducees, or there's a few, religious officials, and they're watching what they're doing. And at one stage, they're picking grains, heads of grain, and they're eating as they're going, and they're saying, you're breaking the Sabbath, you're breaking the Sabbath law. And Jesus turns around to them to say, it's actually interesting that David and his men, and he's referencing his warriors, his mighty men. He goes, when they were hungry, they went into the temple and they took the food that was required or exclusive to the to the priests at the time. But it was accepted, and it was okay. Why? Because, and then he says, because the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And so it's this, but I'm not going into the point of breaking the laws or anything today. What I'm actually talking about is Jesus referencing David and his mighty men, and Jesus saying, and that kind of sparked my interest back in the day, because I was like, who were his companions? Who were these people, and why did they get a mention? Because a lot of time Jesus mentions the scriptures, right? And he quotes scripture, but now he's referencing David and his companions. And I'm like, was there something significant or something special about his companions? And so I did a bit of reading a while ago, and there are a certain number of companions. And it's funny that like Jesus had his three, his three inner core, his inner circle, so did David. And I'm going to mention one of the three from his inner circle, and his name's Eleazar, or Eleazar, I think it's Eleazar. I'll pronounce it Eleazar for those of you who don't know. And so the Bible reference is 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 9 to 19. That's 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 9 to 19. But I'm only going to, that's talking about all his men, all the mighty men, I think. Among the 30 were, now, I don't know why it's 9 to 19. It should have been 9 and 10, I think. Yeah, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be 9 to 19. I think it's 9 and 10. So we'll just put it back and we'll change it. Yep, it's 9. That's what I said. It's 9 and, did I do that all right? Now I'm just messing with my buttons. Okay, cool. So let's continue. Typographical error. Absolutely. Okay, here we go. So it says, next to him, so they're trying, in verse 8, it says, these are the names of David's mighty men. And then it says, Joshua, a Techmanite, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men, whom he killed in one encounter. We're not talking about him today. We're talking about this guy. Verse 9. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Ahohite, as one of the three mighty men. This is a really powerful passage, because out of this passage, I got 4 things. I got 4 points that I'd like to bring to our attention today. The first one is, it says, as one of the three mighty men. He was with David when they taunted the Philistines gathered at Paz Dammim for battle. Now, it seems like the Philistines and the Israelites had ongoing beef. It wasn't just that one time where David knocked out Goliath and decimated him in that one battle, but it was this ongoing battle, back and forth. And the Philistines were one of the Israelites' key enemies in battle. And so it says here, So they taunted the Philistines gathered at Pas-dammim for battle. Then the men of Israel retreated. But he stood his ground, Eleazar stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword, or his hand like clung and seized to the sword. Like it's one of those things that it's like he had to pry his fingers off the sword because it seized, it froze to the sword. And then it says, the Lord brought about a great victory that day. The troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. And so I just see this, in full again. It said, as one of the three mighty men, he was with David when they taunted the Philistines gathered at Pas-dammim for battle. Then the men of Israel retreated, but he stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. The troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. The first point, and for me, I took out 4 key points or 4 key things from just that one story, right? And this is interesting because Jesus remembers or kind of reflects and refers back to David and his mighty men and his mighty warriors, like, paying tribute to them, paying tribute and acknowledging them, and saying to, I guess, the Pharisees and the people there that it's like, me, I'm the new David, and these are my mighty men, right? So show us the same respect kind of thing. And so now I'm highlighting or paying tribute to one of David's mighty men. And it's Eleazar, and there's 4 points that I got from that one battle. The first passage is this. Hold on, I'll take this out. The first point is, point number 1, stand strong, though you may stand alone. For me, the ability to stand strong, you need conviction. You need a true conviction. You need a true belief in what you believe in and what's valuable and what's important to you. And they're the ones that it's like, for God, for Christ, we're living in a world now where it's quite secular. And a lot of the stuff that Jesus is trying to practice or trying to promote in our lives is very countercultural, right? When it's all about self-sacrificial love, it's always about kindness and generosity and care and faith, and believing in the Lord and allowing Him and surrendering things to God rather than focusing things on self or like worrying about things yourself or relying on yourself to do all these things. We're living in a world where it's not promoted to rely on Christ. It's not promoted. The teachings of Jesus Christ is not celebrated because everyone, if you look out there, it's all about what we can get for ourselves, how we can set each other up, how we can, it's a take kind of thing. And a lot of these things, it's like, well, the things that Jesus is saying for us to live this abundant life, we have to be generous, we have to be loving, we have to be self-sacrificial, we have to be patient, we have to be understanding, we have to be forgiving, and all of these things. For us, we need Jesus to do that, right? Hands down, we can't do it ourselves. But when we're in a world where we're confronted with people saying, you shouldn't believe this, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or Jesus Christ is this, and all this kind of stuff, and they're firing things to bring us down or bring you down, what do? God is this word of encouragement from Eleazar's story. From what I see is that though everyone bounced, though the Israelites ran away and he was left by himself, he stood strong even though he stood alone. So that was the first point I wanted to share. Stand strong, though you may stand alone. The second point, and I might be racing through some, but I want to get through all of them and give them the appropriate amount of time, and then I'll come back to them, right? If I need to. But the first one is stand strong, though you may stand alone. The second one is, what are you clinging to in the times of trouble? That one's a hard one for me, right? Because in this story, he's like, he didn't move. He stood his ground and he fought the Philistines. He fought the enemy. He fought the enemy of the Lord. And I think, and for me, it's because of conviction that he stayed. It's because of his belief and his willingness to fight for what he believed in that he stayed. And he stayed and he fought. And it says, till his hand grew so seized to the sword, because that's the only thing he had. He didn't have anything else. He had his faith and he had his sword, and he clung to both. What are you clinging to? When it comes to times of trouble and you're by yourself and you have no one, and you're looking around, you feel like everyone's gapped it, or you feel that you're all alone in this battle, or you feel you're struggling by yourself in this journey, what are you clinging to? For me, if you look at the armor of God, you know what the sword is, right? The sword is the word, right? And for me, it's like, what are you clinging to? What are you clinging to? And it's not just these things where it's like, oh, I know the Bible. Like yesterday we talked about it. It's not about knowing the Bible, but it's allowing God to speak to you through faith and having the scriptures reinforce what you know about God in the Bible. And so for me, it's, what do you cling to? Like, do you cling to faith? Do you cling to, what is it in your time of trouble? Because ultimately that's what you're going to rely on. That's what you're going to trust in. That's what you're going to invest in. That's what you're going to put everything in, especially during times of trouble. I would say a couple of things come in the way. And sometimes instead of clinging to God, right, I cling to money, right? I cling to self. And what I mean by that is, when I think of troubles, or when I'm into, when I find out that I'm stuck in a jam or something like that, where is God in the priority list? Where does God come when it comes to that solution? Where does God come to say in the, hey, I'm going to trust and I'm going to have faith and I'm going to rely on you? Where does that come? Where does God come in on that? Or is it, I've got enough money to take care of myself. Or I've got enough cash, not to worry about this one. Or, I've got a solution and this is what I'm going to do. And all of a sudden, what we're clinging to is confidence in self, or confidence in finances, or confidence in other things apart from God. For me, the question here, or the challenge is, what are you clinging to in the times of trial? What are you willing to seize your hand to, or seize your whole self to, or freeze yourself to and cling to in the times of trial? For me, the ongoing journey for me is to cling to God, is to cling to Jesus Christ, to cling to his promises, to cling to him so much so that irrespective of the outcome, irrespective of the circumstance, I can sing songs like, "It is well with my soul." I can say, "Come what may, Christ is enough for me." That's what I'm hoping to cling to, and I need God in my life constantly so he can help me fuse to him, right? And that's faith. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit. That's a byproduct of us having a relationship with God, is that he will give us more faith, right? Which is the adhesive to stick closer to him. And so the question is, what are you clinging to in times of trial? Third point, I should put numbers on these, so you can see the numbers. The third one is, the Lord will bring about the victory. That's what I love about this passage. It's not Eleazar what was there and took down everyone and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't show about how, it doesn't, in the scriptures, it doesn't show how he fought. It just said, he stood his ground against the Philistines and the Lord brought about a great victory there. So we have no idea how he played it out, but we do know that he used his skills, he used his talents, he used his ability, he fused himself to his sword, and the Lord brought about his victory. That's what's powerful. For me, that adds to what we're talking about yesterday. It's not a testimony, right? It's a testimony. And I know I'm getting that word wrong, but the testimony is about how God can be glorified in the experience. It's not about what he did and how others are like, wow, he was so cool. What I love about it is, he's a mighty man of God. He's David's mighty man, and he is of God. He fought for God. He stood his ground for God, and God provided him the victory. So for us in our battles, right, in our struggles, in our times of trial, are we allowing God to have the victory in it? Or is it we're running away, right? Or we're not allowing God to have the victory, and like the other Israelites who didn't stand their ground, we just gapped it. Right? Because if the circumstance is there and the challenge is there and the battle needs to be fought, irrespective of what the battle is, give the battle to God. Allow God to fight your battles, because that is what he's calling us to. He is our strength. He is our refuge. He is our shelter. He is our protection. He is the one who will fight for us as well. He's the one that fights our battles. He's the one that gives us victory in the battles that we face, in the spiritual battles, in the emotional battles, in those battles that we feel that we are hopeless and helpless. Jesus is there to give us victory in those battles. So the question is, are you letting the Lord give you victory in those battles? Or is it, once again, you're relying on self, or you're relying on others, or you're relying on something else instead of that? But know that God is going to give you victory in the battles. If you rely and trust in him, he will give you victory in accordance to his way and accordance to his will. That's what Christ is calling us to do. He's saying, we're not here to fight our own battles so we can get the props and the acclamation. If we're going to stand as Christians and stand as Christ's representatives and ambassadors for Christ, we have to allow God to fight our battles, because that's what others will be drawn to. Not the fact that, oh, wow, those guys are so cool, they can fight their own battles and they don't need God. It's, wow, those guys, when they rely on God, even in the worst of circumstances, they can still celebrate joy, love, peace, gentleness, kindness, all the fruits of the Spirit, because they have God. And for me, it leads to my final point. And the final point is this: others will reap the blessings from your battles. That's what we were talking about yesterday, right? When others are drawn to Jesus Christ, right? That's a testimony. When others are drawn into a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ, when others are drawn into a curiosity with Jesus Christ. Because what happened here is that the Israelites bounced, they were scared, they ran away, right? They were all talk, right? They were taunting them. Eleazar was taunting, blah, blah, blah. All of them taunted. But as soon as it got real, and as soon as the battle became a thing, right? They got scared and they gapped it, right? Eleazar stood his ground. The Lord provided a great victory in him. And what did they do? They came back, and they made special mention of what they came back to do. It says here, the troops returned to Eleazar only to strip the dead. So they were just reaping the benefits of the battle that Eleazar won for God, right? And that's the thing that's going to happen, right? Who are we fighting the battles for? We're fighting it for God, right? Who are we standing up for? We're standing up for God. So it really doesn't matter what other people are doing, right? There are some people where it's like, where Jesus talks about the workers in the vineyard, right? Where the workers are like, oh, how come he gets this? How come he's reaping the benefits? I'm working. How come he's reaping the benefits? Well, first and foremost, the battle and the victory was God's, right? So if we're going to reap the benefits, they have every right to reap the benefits as well, because it wasn't our battle. It was God's victory and God's battle. We were just spectators and vessels to be used by God, right? But this is the thing. The more important thing is, what's important to you? The acclamation, the reputation, the pat on the back, and the people coming and saying, oh, you're so awesome. And it's like, these are my blessings that I should be getting for my work. Or is it God saying to you, well done, good and faithful servant, because you and me are good. And the work that was done through Beez, or through Eleazar in this example, it drew other people to celebrate the victory in God, right? Eleazar fought the battle by himself, true. But the Israelites returned and celebrated God and celebrated victory in God and reaped the blessings and the benefits that the victory was in God. So what does that do? It helps build trust. It helps build hope. It helps build faith for those others who are scared or who are running away or who don't have that faith. What we've been called to do is stand up for Christ, and stand up, even if we stand alone, so others will be strengthened in their faith. Others will come back and say, yeah, the next battle I will rely on God. The next battle I will stand like Eleazar stood. Even if he stands alone, I know God will be victorious in my life as well. That's testimony. And that's what I hope that we do, that when we take a page out of Eleazar's book, that we're not going to be resentful for other people reaping the benefits from the battle that we fight, but we're grateful because God has given us victory in our battle, so others will be drawn closer to him because of what he's done for us. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm just going to recap on the 4 points And it says this. The first one is, stand strong, though you may stand alone. The second point is, what are you clinging to in times of trouble? The third point is, the Lord will bring about the victory. The Lord will bring about a victory. And the final point is, others will reap the blessings from your battles. I'm going to correct that and say, allow others to reap. Allow others to reap the blessings from your battles, because that's where God will say to you, well done, good and faithful servant. Because you've remained faithful to him, and because of that faith, others are drawn into a deeper relationship and a closer relationship, trust, reliance, hope, and faith in him. Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you that we could today go back in time, go back in the Old Testament and look at one of David's mighty warriors, Eleazar, and celebrate victory that was found in you. Lord, thank you. In a space of 2 verses, there was so much that was broken up, and you were able to show us that if we rely on you, we trust in you, we stand firm in you, victory will be found in you. And Lord, in our spiritual battles, in our mental battles, in the battles that we face constantly, Lord, though we might be fighting them by ourselves, and people might be running away, and people might be leaving us or abandoning us, we know that you won't abandon us. We actually know that the victory is found in you. So all we need to do is fuse, cling, seize, just grab and freeze ourselves to you. Thank you for giving us the word and giving us faith that which gives us, I'm going to say it again, the adhesive, the glue that enables us to stick closer to you so we can rely on you, trust in you, and have victory and find victory in you. And finally, Lord, I pray that the victory in us, irrespective of the circumstances or the journey or the struggles or the trials that are going in our lives, Lord, I pray that others are drawn to you because they see the celebration of that in our lives. I ask this all in your loving name. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another daily devotion with Beez. I'm your host, Beez the Chaplain, and I'm feeling better. I'm feeling good that there was those 4 points, because I know I didn't want to race through them, but I'm glad I got it done. I'm just going to read through the comments to see if anyone's wanted to share anything. And this is, and Warden's like, this reminds me of how we stand against our sinful nature and flesh. It brings to mind the crowns we receive at the end of days if we stay diligent, 100%. If our diligence is found in Jesus Christ. I think for me, the key word that I saw in that passage was fuse or seize or freeze. His hand froze to the sword. And for me, that's us. If we need to freeze, we need to freeze ourselves to the faith that we have in Jesus Christ, the reliance that we have in Jesus Christ, the trust that we have in Jesus Christ. Thank you so much. I like that. Mark 10. I'm going to quickly bring it up. I don't know what Mark 10. Mix the picks. Hey, hope you're doing well. What's up, brother? Mark 10. What does Mark 10 chapter 18 say? Mark 10 chapter 18 says this: why do you call me good? Jesus answered, no one is good except God alone. Yeah. And I think for me, that's that constant testimony. It's like, it's not me, it's the Jesus in me. It's not me, it's the God working in me. It's not my victory, it's the God victory through me. 100%. Thank you for clearing this passage up for me. Did I say something wrong? Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Hey, Star Fox, just wanted to say hello. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna raid. Oh no, is Boz still playing? Warden. Here we go. He also said, wonderful interpretation of the freeze to the hand part. I mentioned to you in my disconnect there, and now I understand. I can look at the sword as the sword of the Spirit. So powerful, 100%. I love that, and for me, I'm glad that you saw that, because for me, the question is, when we take this story, it's like, how do we apply it in our lives? And sometimes it's like, that's an old story with battles and wars and stuff like that. And it's like, no, we're still fighting our spiritual battles. God is the one fighting for us. We are still part of this. This is still happening. So I'm really glad that God was able to speak to you and give you a blessing today. I'm going to wrap it up. And then I might, I don't know if God's God Churches Connect is still going to be on. So I might, because I know that Boz was wrapping up, so I might I might do what's it called? I might raid Susie, just depending on who's left. But yeah, do a small little raid party. Anyway, I'm gonna bounce now. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you received a blessing from this devotion, because I certainly did. It was a great reminder. If you have any questions about the 4 points that were mentioned, please reach out to me. Let's talk about this. Fazi, praise the Lord, man. Thank you so much for joining as well, and thanks for dropping by. Once again, Star Fox. Hope you have a great day. Hey. Also, if you feel that someone else would benefit from word of encouragement or this message, please share it with them. Speak to them, right? Tell them about it, right? But if necessary, if you're not too sure, send them my way. Let's have a talk. Send them the video, just so they can receive a blessing as well. By the way, raid party. We've got Jay Desu. Hey, my brother, I hope you're keeping well. Hey, man, I hope you enjoyed yourself at PAX. And this guy, man, oh man, it looks like you're blowing up, my bro. You're getting there with the networks and the connections. Babe, remember me when you present at PAX next year. That's all I'm gonna say. Remember me when you present at PAX next year. That's the prophecy. That's what I'm seeing into the future. Whenever you get invited to any of the cons, man, remember me. And say, oh, shout out to Beez the chaplain. Check him out on Twitch. Daily devotions. All right. Okay. I'm gonna bounce. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow for another daily devotion with Beez. Tomorrow we got an attitude of gratitude one for Friday, and I'm gonna be talking about. For me, I think this morning it was put on my heart that God was like, I want you to acknowledge the coaches in your life, and talking about like coaches and encouragers. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of talk about the idea of the necessity for a spiritual coach, but also just coaches in general, and the role of what coaches I feel should be doing. All right, I'll leave it at that. I might change. It might change tomorrow. All right. Hey Jay, when you're famous, and I like how Jay is confident, because he was like, nah, man, that's not me. He's like, nah, I'm gonna see you at PAX next year, but I won't forget you, bro. I'm up there. I'm blowing up, bro. That's it. That's it. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Devotion. I'll see you tomorrow, 7:30 Sydney side of time for another one. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace out. Much love. Bye. I'm gonna get this raid party started. All right, bye.